Identity, the quest for Israel's future. Emanuel Shahaf, hello to you.
Hello, hello.
Well, it have been quite 2 last weeks.
Yes, it's been busy.
Please share with us the most profound meeting that you had.
The most interesting meeting I had was I participated in a lecture by a former head of military intelligence, Zevi Farkash, General Zevi Farkash, who pointed out that at this time the government of Israel does not have any authority that integrates intelligence on a strategic level. Okay, we have the different branches of the intelligence services, the Mossad, the Shabak, military intelligence, but there is no integrator, and the National Security Council, which should be the integrator, is not actually doing that at this time. So we may be in for strategic surprises, and for surprises that we could be prepared for if we had somebody to integrate all that information. And that's very unfortunate.
So basically you're saying, also as a former official in the Israeli Mossad, and that the Mossad has its own intelligence, the Shabak has its own intelligence, the Israeli army has its own, but practically, I'm not talking formally, practically no one is seeing the large big picture.
Nobody is actually looking at the large picture, which may also include other things, not only those provided by intelligence services. There's a lot of information out there. I remember a conversation we had in the Mossad more than 20 years ago, where the head of the research division said that maybe we shouldn't put any money into collection, only money into analysis, because as a matter of fact, the media collecting information at a much greater scale and with much more efficiency sometimes than intelligence services. So you can use open sources and still get, the people who read the New York Times or the Washington Post or whatever, they get a fairly good picture. And only for certain instances, for certain special kinds of information, intelligence services may be even better than that.
So this is also like creating a new revolutionary aspect of the work of intelligence in this century.
Yes, absolutely.
And the federation idea is something that, from your perspective and from others, can be kind of an antidote that can expect and also prevent any kind of surprise.
Yeah, it's not any kind of surprise, but it can definitely prevent those which we have to worry about most, namely uprisings of the local population, Palestinian population, and so on and so forth, and getting our country into shape to be a bulwark against other threats from the outside. Because right now we have a problem in Israel, not only with Israel's Arab population, which is also in a problematic situation now, but with the Palestinians who are under our sovereignty. And this is an issue, these are issues which have to be resolved, and they are of strategic importance. They're not just little tactical things which can be taken care of. We can see that Israeli Arab population, especially the Bedouin population in the south, has been neglected for 70 years, and it's coming to it's showing, and this cannot be resolved in a year or 2 or 3. This is going to take a long time, and these are all things which should have been foreseen by somebody who integrates the strategic picture, and wasn't foreseen. So we're having to deal with much more difficult problems now.
And while you've been meeting in the Israeli Knesset with members of the Knesset, what is your perspective? Are they now more open to the federation idea?
Yes,
even in the left side.
Yes, there is an understanding that the two-state solution is probably not going to be implemented in the foreseeable future, and people feel the need to discuss alternatives. And officially, there just aren't any alternatives. I participated in a meeting of the Israeli peace organizations a couple of weeks ago, and all they were talking about was 2 states, and 2 states of this, or 2 states like this, confederation. and nothing else. Okay, so
it's like
it's
using the same food with different sauce. Would you say?
Yes. It's just using a different spice, but it's the same concept. The two states, and we have to start looking at alternatives. And the moment, and this is what I feel that has been achieved, that now there's a willingness to discuss alternatives. It's not so important at all that we talk what exactly the alternatives are we're talking about. Just the fact that the idea that alternatives can be discussed is almost revolutionary, surprisingly enough.
And you're talking even about kind of, or any beginning of openness also within the members of the Israeli Knesset from the left side,
yes.
that they're also very eager for so many years with the two-state solution, that maybe right now they are opening to variety of ideas.
Yes, I think what is contributing to the fact that they're open is the fact that this government, the present government, is basically unable to do anything. Okay, so that makes it a little bit more urgent to maybe think of alternatives in the hope of something, maybe something can come up that this government can do. Federation, for example, which I think this government is perfectly set to do. They just don't know it yet. So
some of them might know.
Some of them might know, yes. Some of them might know. But these are issues we have to discuss. But the fact that there is an openness now to discuss alternatives at all is important, and I'm looking forward to push this more and more.
And while you're pushing it more and more every week, and also with meeting in the Knesset with members of the Israeli Parliament, there was a wonderful conversation with people that are looking outside of the books.
Yes.
What was this kind of encounter, this seminar?
A panel about it was a panel about Israeli national security doctrine. With a Major General in the reserves, Gershon Hacohen, Chaim Assa, the former security advisor to Yitzhak Rabin, and Doron Avital, the former head of the General Command Commando Unit, which was fascinating. But there was one little tidbit which was particularly interesting, that General Hacohen talked about. He said that Chatemi, the former president of Iran, the moderate president of Iran, wrote a book, and that book was translated into Hebrew. So Gershon Hacohen took a page from the book, took from the text. He took out all references to Islam and showed the book to Rabbi Furman, may he rest in peace, and asked him who he thinks that wrote that text. And Rav Furman said it could have been the Rav Kook, who is one of the founders of Zionism, so to speak. So that was an amazing insight. If you think there is some spiritual, on a spiritual level, there's some connect between Shiites and Jews, which may be indicative of potential that we can realize as we watch while Iran goes nuclear. So that's something to think about.
So maybe the enemy is underneath a bit similar to us.
Yes. It's much. It's an indication that things are not exactly as they're being told as they are. If you go and dig deeper, you find out that we're all pretty much the same.
It's amazing and a very, very unique perspective, especially when it comes from a military former general in the Israeli army.
Yes.
Gershon Hacohen, one last message that you would like to share from the meetings that you've had the last days.
I think the most important thing is just to keep on doing what I'm doing or we're doing, pushing the idea, pushing the federation, because it's trickling down as opposed to in the economy. This is actually trickling through and
giving
hope to people, and people are beginning to realize that we have to think of something else, and the federation is probably not such a bad idea after all.
Identity, the quest for Israel's future by Emanuel Shahaf. People that want to be part, Facebook.
Facebook is the way to contact us. Yes.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.